In this video, we dive into smart, practical ways to save money on Azure Virtual Machines. Hey everyone, I'm Travis and welcome back to the channel. Deploying resources in Azure always comes with a cost, but if you're running a dev test environment, building a learning lab, or just trying to reduce your monthly Azure bill, there are some great cost optimization strategies you can take advantage of. And that's exactly what we're covering today. Before we jump in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss new content. And if you want to go deeper, check out my Azure courses. The links are below. And a huge thanks to my channel members. Your support is appreciated. Let's start with one of my favorites for cost savings in Azure, the B-Series Virtual Machine. These are cheaper than other comparable sized VMs, but there's a reason for that. The B stands for burstable. Unlike standard VMs that give you consistent CPU performance, B-Series VMs use a credit-based model. So they throttle CPU utilization at a baseline level, but allow you to burst beyond that. Here's how it works. Each VM size comes with base CPU performance. Think of that as a threshold. When the VM's running below that threshold, it earns CPU credits. And those credits build up over time while the VM is idle or lightly used. Once it's banked enough credits, the VM can burst above that base performance to handle higher workloads. But once those credits are used up, the VM drops back down to its base performance level. So yes, B-Series VMs are cost effective, but you're not getting sustained full CPU power all of the time. Each VM starts with initial credits and can accumulate more up to a maximum limit. Once that cap is reached, it stops earning additional credits. And there's actually a formula behind how credits are calculated per minute. You'll see that on the screen. You can also check out the Microsoft Learn docs for B-Series CPU bursting, which breaks down base performance, initial credits, and maximum credit limits per VM size. If you want to monitor this on a B-Series VM, just head over to the Azure portal, go to your VM, and open Metrics under Monitoring. From here, you can track how many CPU credits you've consumed and how many you have left. It's a great way to make sure you're not unexpectedly running out of burst capacity. B-Series VMs are perfect for workloads that don't have high CPU usage, like development environments, proof of concepts, or labs. I use them all the time for demos, like spinning up Azure Virtual Desktop environments that don't need heavy compute. But if you're doing performance testing or running CPU-intensive workloads, this probably isn't the right choice. They also work well for things like domain controllers, where the CPU spikes during logins, but stays relatively idle otherwise, or even lightweight web servers or small databases that don't need sustained processing power. Another powerful way to save money on Azure Compute is by using Azure Spot VMs. These are deeply discounted VMs that run on unused capacity in Azure data centers. Azure demand fluctuates throughout a day, week, or even a year. And when there's unused capacity, Microsoft offers it at a steep discount through spot pricing. In some cases, you can save over 80% compared to standard pricing. Sounds good, right? Well, there's a trade-off. Spot VMs can be evicted at any time if Azure needs that capacity back for regular full-priced workloads. So essentially, spot VMs take a backseat to standard VMs. If demand increases, your VM could be stopped or even deleted depending on how it's configured. When you create a spot VM in Azure, you choose how eviction is handled, whether it's triggered by capacity only or by a price and capacity. You set a maximum price you're willing to pay per hour for that VM. Azure will never charge more than the standard pricing, but if the price for the spot VM exceeds the amount you set as max, your VM will be evicted. You'll also choose an eviction policy: stop and deallocate or delete entirely. Spot VMs are available for many VM sizes, but pricing and availability vary by region. And importantly, there's no SLA and no high availability guarantee for spot VMs. So where do they shine? Spot VMs are perfect for workloads that can handle interruptions, like batch processing, dev test environments, or jobs that can resume if interrupted. I definitely wouldn't recommend them for production or mission-critical applications. Here's a simple but often overlooked tip: compare Azure regions. Azure pricing can vary between regions due to factors like demand, capacity constraints, and even operational costs like electricity. So sometimes just deploying your resource in a different region can save you money. With that said, always factor in latency and data residency requirements. Saving a few dollars isn't worth it if it slows down your application or violates compliance requirements. Now, if you're running a lab or dev test environments, one of the easiest ways to reduce costs is by shutting down the VMs when they're not in use. When a VM is deallocated in Azure, you stop paying for compute. You'll still pay for things like storage, the OS disk, for example, public IPs, backups, and other VM-related services, but the compute cost is where most of the expense comes from. And here's the key point. Make sure you deallocate the VM from Azure itself. If you just shut down the VM from inside the operating system, Azure still considers the VM allocated and you'll continue to be billed for it. If you're like me and sometimes forget to shut things down, Azure has you covered. You can enable auto shutdown from Azure. You can do it from the portal. Just go to the VM, look under operations, and select auto shutdown. From here, you can define the time and time zone and even set up an alert before shutdown happens. This is a simple feature that can save you a surprising amount over time. Now, all of these options we've covered so far are great for flexible or non-production workloads, but what if we're running production systems that need consistent performance? That's where Azure Savings Plans comes in. With a savings plan, you commit to spending a fixed hourly amount on Azure over a 1 or 3 year term. In exchange, you get a significant discount on eligible services. For example, if you look at Azure VM pricing, you might see savings of around 39% for a 1 year plan and up to 59% for a 3 year commitment. Savings plans apply across services, not just VMs, but also app services, container instances, databases, and more. And they can be scoped at the resource group, subscription, or management group level, automatically applying to eligible usage. For organizations running steady, predictable workloads, this is one of the best ways to reduce long-term Azure costs, especially when combined with Azure hybrid benefits. So if the flexibility options we talked about earlier don't fit your needs, savings plans are definitely worth considering. Another big cost saver is right-sizing your VMs. Many workloads are over-provisioned, so checking Azure Monitor metrics like CPU and memory usage can help you scale down to smaller, cheaper VM sizes. You can find performance metrics history right from the Azure portal. You can also send this information to Log Analytics. And finally, don't forget to check Azure Advisor. In addition to security, reliability, performance, and operational excellence, Azure Advisor will recommend cost optimizations, including ones we've talked about, like shutting down unused VMs and resizing them. I hope this helps you better understand how to optimize Azure VM costs and get the most value out of your cloud spend. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.